Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talking About Balls. I am Justin George. I am flying the ship solo right now for the time being. Kyle will be joining us here shortly and give or take like a half hour to 45 minutes or so. He is at a dinner, and he'll be here. We have a full show to do, plenty to talk about. Obviously, we've been off and away for a few weeks now. Just pretty much we knew that the off season was going to be a time for us to try to get some shit done, and that happened. So like last week I had a dentist appointment that would have affected us doing a show at that time. My appointment was at 6:30. The week before, I think it was I don't remember. Either way, I'm not here to make excuses, but we needed the time off after doing a weekly show for the whole season, except for a couple of times where we had vacations. Having the off season time off is huge. And, the weather's getting a little nicer, even though it's probably just a fallacy right now. It's going to be 30 degrees and snowing tomorrow. So enjoy it while you can. Tonight, though, we are doing a show. Again, Kyle will be joining us in a little bit, and couldn't resist doing a show in the middle of free agency. It officially kicked off today, the NFL league year. However, deals start early, as all of you know, so there were some interesting things that happened over the last few days that we are looking forward to talking about today. The Browns made some moves. Every team in the NFL, obviously, it's free agency, so they're all making moves. We're going to talk a little bit of Major League Baseball because, if I'm not mistaken, today is the 10th or 11th. You know what? I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. I think the season's going to start by the time we do our next show. So let me look that up really quick. MLB schedule. Let's do that. Give me 1 second. Bear with me as I Google here. And I do not want spring training Google, son of a bitch. See, this is why I hate websites. Just give me, I don't want spring training. Just give me the regular season. That's what I'm here for. So this is going by day. MLB.com won't just show me the actual team schedule. Whatever. I digress. I'm not going to sit here searching through it the whole time. I know the season starts in a couple of weeks. The Guardians start in Seattle. But again, I don't know when off the top of my head. It might be the week of the 25th or something like that. Either way, we're going to be off next week and then we'll be back next week, the week after. So it might be right before baseball season starts. So if we don't have time to do the MLB predictions, maybe we won't do them today. Because so much to talk about. But again, we have been off for a few weeks. Plenty has happened in life. Our family and friends for her birthday party. She turned 2 back in February, so we had her party the weekend after. And go figure, that was one of the reasons why we stopped. We didn't record that week was because everyone in my house was sick. Tara woke up feeling ill that week, which was great. Obviously you're about to host a big party and you have a sick wife. And then the day of Teddy's party, we wake up to Teddy being sick. And we're like, great, what do? We're not canceling the party. We already bought everything and it's happening. So we went through with the party. She was a trooper. She powered through. She truly, you would have never even guessed that she was sick aside from hearing her, or seeing her nose running and everything. And she ended up being sick for a few days after that, which was, again, awesome. Very fun as a parent when you have a sick kid when they're uncomfortable. But again, she's a trooper, so she powered through. She slept pretty well. We gave her baby NyQuil. They make an all-natural baby nighttime medicine thing that we give her, and it helps. She sleeps through the night. So she was a trooper. She made it through. And Tara recovered after a week or something like that. So everyone in the house, I don't know how, I managed to dodge the sickness. I don't know how. I typically am the one that has the worst immune system next to Magic Johnson and no issues. So I'm very happy that it avoided me for the time being, at least. And I am grateful. So she was sick, had her birthday party though. The night before her birthday party, however, we went to a wrestling show. Actually, this is something I'm sure Kyle would talk about with me too if he were here, because Kyle was there too. We went and saw our friend Dan Romer. We kept it a secret from everybody. And he wrestles as Dr. Dan Rockingham, DCR, and Daniel C. Rockingham. Sorry, that makes sense if you're going by DCR. The C is kind of important. But he is a wrestler locally. He's traveled, but he was an amateur wrestler, if you will, and kind of has retired a couple of times, kind of made comebacks here and there. And allegedly, I don't think so, but allegedly, his show that we went and saw a few weeks ago was his last one. He's retiring. So, do I believe that? No. I think he'll be back in a ring soon enough. But if it is his final match, it was a great time. We went to an AIW show at the Roxy inside of Mahal's in Lakewood. And my first time being in there, actually, I go to Mahal's or Mayhalls, however you pronounce it. People call it Mayhalls. I say Mahal's. Mahal's makes more sense to me, but whatever. We were there, and it was my first time in the Roxy. The Roxy's a pretty cool place. I enjoyed myself, and they put on a really good show. The funny thing is, as we get older, back in the day, young JG would be like, "Hey, we're going to stay here. We're going to drink until they kick us out of this wrestling show. Then we're going to go find the closest bar, and we're going to keep drinking until closing time, and then we're going to go home and pass out." And that would have been my Friday night. And now that I'm a dad, we joked with Romer, and we're like, "Hey, when's your match?" Because we want to, once we surprised him and he saw us, we were like, "When's your match?" Because we were thinking about leaving right after so we could go get some food and go home and go to bed. And he's like, "Oh, I'm the main event." And we were like, "Oh, fuck." So we have to stay there till like 11 o'clock. And sure enough, we did. It was awesome. Happy to see a friend potentially put a ribbon on his career. And if he does, it was great. I saw a ton of his matches, and I'm happy to be a part of his journey. And if he ends up coming back, maybe I can make my way there again, because I do enjoy myself when AIW has shows here once a month. Check out AIW. Kyle and I used to go every month. No bullshit. We had a group of us, and we would try to get to every single match. So Kyle would make it to a few. And then myself and Phil and Dan, we would try to get to almost like every one. So it was a ritual, like every Friday or once a month on their shows on Friday night. We'd all get tickets. We'd get front row tickets. We'd go up there. We'd heckle everybody. We made it a fun thing. And it was a blast. Had a really good time. Now, I'm trying to think of what else I've done lately. I've done a ton, man. I've been so busy. Every day is something else. We went out for my brother-in-law's birthday. Khan had a birthday mixed in there too. We went out for his birthday. I think I might have talked about that on the show before. I don't remember. I don't even remember when our last show was. But anyway, went out for my brother-in-law Khan's birthday. We went to my father-in-law. He had his retirement / birthday party. So we had that. We had, my niece Kaya, her first birthday party was at the Children's Museum on Saturday. We went there. I don't know, man. I've done a ton. I'm just so busy. We went out for Valentine's Day. Have I done a show since Valentine's Day? I think I did. I don't remember. Jesus. Maybe not. We went out for Valentine's Day.
The Tabbies were our last show.
Tabbies were the last show. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. And then we went out for my other sister-in-law's birthday last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. 2 Saturdays ago. We went to Hilarities. We saw a show, had dinner, had a good time. And then today is actually my other sister-in-law's birthday. So all of my in-laws and nieces and stuff on that side, they're all just blended in together. We've had 4 birthdays. We've had, 5 birthdays. Like, this is nuts. I can't keep up with all of you people. My birthday is actually coming up this weekend. We're going to go do some shit. So my birthday is actually Sunday. I'll be 37. I'm old. It's over for me. We're going to go out on Saturday night. We're going to Birdie Town in Lakewood. It is a newer indoor putt-putt place, but like kind of swanky, like a fancy putt-putt course. So we're going to go do that on Saturday night. Going to go have some drinks. Sunday is my actual birthday. And I don't know what we're doing for that. I know we're talking about some restaurants I want to try. Because, when it's your birthday, you get to pick the place you go eat. And I kind of want to see a movie. There's a new movie that comes out. February 11th was the last episode. Okay, so it looks like, Valentine's Day did happen after. Crazy. Valentine's Day. What did Tara and I do? We went out to, what's it called? There's a restaurant in Lakewood. It has a weird fucking name. I'll have to ask her. I don't remember. Maybe it's in my... Oh, crap. I didn't... that's my fault. I forgot to share the episode. Um, damn it. I got to text her. I got to figure this restaurant out. Either way, we went out to eat, and then we ended at a dive bar here locally by our house in Strongsville. We went to a new bar for the first time, and it's a dive. Has no food. There were posters on the wall in the bathroom that said basically they have potluck. So they're like, hey, we're going to be showing the NASCAR races, and there's a potluck. So bring food if you want to eat during the NASCAR races at this dive bar. Would I ever do that? Hell to the no. Would I go there and drink? Yes, it's definitely my kind of place. I don't need to eat the food. I'm good. I'm all set on that. Not that I don't trust people. I'm just weird about that. Um, so we did that on Valentine's Day. Teddy's birthday was technically the 17th. Yeah, so the 17th was her birthday. We went out for that. We took her to, I forgot the name of it, but the play gym or whatever at South Park Mall. We took her there and she had a blast. We went down a huge slide. She was jumping around, playing in a ball pit. She's been obsessed with ball pits ever since. Um, she, we went out to eat and got her a little cake, took her out to dinner, had a really good time for her second birthday. She had a blast. And then again, we had her party, Winnie the Pooh themed, and family and friends came over and she had a blast. And then we went to Lily's birthday party. That's our friend Dan and Laura, their daughter. She had her birthday, I think her fourth birthday, and maybe fifth. No, four. She was four, and they invited Teddy. They were very nice enough to invite Teddy. So Teddy went over there. It was a princess party, and Teddy had a blast. Made a little crown, and then man, I don't remember. That's pretty much it. Other than that, life is pretty normal. You know, I work. After work, I just try to have as much fun as I can with the family, and we go out and we've been enjoying the nice weather. We've gone to some parks, so nothing really crazy. The old exciting JG is dead. This is new dad JG. That's what happens, but I don't mind. It's a nice change. um, so yeah, that's pretty much it with BS. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you guys see the news. You guys know I like to try to talk about current events, and obviously, the big current event right now is the war in Iran with the United States and Israel going after Iran, and now there's like gas prices are jacking up, and it's just I don't know. It's all again. I've completely separated myself from politics. It's just still showing up everywhere because it is like embarrassing what's happening. Essentially, everything that Trump ran on is just a lie. It was lower prices. It was no more wars, all these things, and none of that's come to fruition. Now he's doing literally the exact opposite. I don't know the validity of it. I've seen a lot of former Trump supporters now complaining about him, which, again, I don't know if it's true or if people are just doing it for... You can't trust anything anymore on social media. I don't know if this person's being genuine or if this person's making an anti-Trump post to try to get, like, clicks. So I don't even engage in anything anymore. I know I talk about that all like probably twice a year. I break my own rule of not engaging and I get into long battles, but I'm going to really try to work on that. I haven't so far in 2026. I've avoided getting into arguments and confrontations with people. But as far as the political part of it, I don't engage. I don't like, I might like respond to a couple things if I think it's like funny, but I don't like actually try to get like an argument going or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. The world's fucked up again as it was, and I don't see it really getting much better anytime soon, unfortunately. You know, assuming it's going to be this weird timeline, if you will, under Trump, then we have, you know, a little under 3 years left. That's a long time. A lot can happen. And then the future looks bleak of candidates for the 2028 election. Personally, I was talking about this the other day with my buddy. We were talking about who's going to run, and I was like, I don't know. Like the Republicans are probably going to get JD Vance, but I think he's a dork. I think he is so disingenuous, and he's just he's honestly he's a nerd. Like he's not in like a fun way. We're like, yo, the nerdy kid. Like he's literally a little dweeb. He's bent over backwards for Trump to get the vice president nomination when he's been on record of calling him Hitler and like saying all these nasty things about him, and then was quick to be like, nope, I love him, just to get the vice presidential nod. So again, just kind of a shallow dude that doesn't really have any morals, and I feel like that's going to get chewed up by the public. And then on the Democrat side, like they can't go with Harris again. There's no way. They can't go with Gavin Newsom. I think he'd get eaten alive. And like Pete Buttigieg, I think Pete Buttigieg would probably be the best candidate, but nobody would go for him because he's gay. So he's out. Like that's just how fucked up America is, that they're so worried about like personal things about people that they're like, I can't vote for him. He's gay. Like that's going to turn a lot of people off and prevent him from getting votes just because he's gay. And like that's so fucked up because I think he'd be a very good candidate. I think he's a very intelligent dude. But that's just my 2 cents. And then, there's always going to be some idiots doing some third party shit that's going to take away votes from people and just wreck everything because they're stupid. But I don't care. I've moved on. As again, I've kind of separated myself from politics. I really haven't been keeping up with current events or anything like that in the news. Obviously, I see stuff like the war, like we're bombing people and stuff like that. That's going to come up just from listening to the radio. But as far as like the inner dumb things that happen, because it's every day. If you go on any news site on like Twitter or whatever, you're going to see a clip of like Trump saying something stupid or one of his peers saying something stupid. And you're just like, this can't be real. Like Tara shows me stuff all the time. She'll see it on TikTok and she's like, is this serious? And it'll be like a clip of somebody saying something stupid. And it's like, yeah, unfortunately it is. Like, it's just where we are. But I'll have to, nowadays I have to Google it myself because I'm like, I don't know, I didn't hear that. I have to look it up. But it is nice. I mean, it's kind of refreshing that, again, I don't know what's happening. Is Trump doing such a bad job that people just are over him and they're not talking about him anymore because he's not being treated like a celebrity anymore like he used to be, or like your favorite sports team where people would just like post stuff about him all the time. Now, not as much. People have kind of backed off. So again, I don't know. Is he doing a bad job or are people just over it? I don't really know. But again, I'm over it. So that's why I don't give a fuck. I'm out. I don't give a fuck. Actually, George, I'm going to change my just the tip. I'll send it to you in the private chat if I can. I don't know if it's going to let me type. Doesn't. There it is. Yeah, let me type that in right now. George, what I sent you, I don't remember the name of it, but it's the newest one. So if that helps for you to Google it, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But it just came out like a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, that's why I figured it'll be easy for you to get. But anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much your current events. The Oscars are coming up in a couple of weeks. And actually this Sunday, I'm sorry. And I try to make it a goal every year to watch every movie, or at least get close. This year, I think I might be able to do it. I have to watch 2 movies by Sunday. Normal, like old Justin, that's easy. I'd watch one tonight and I'd watch one tomorrow as soon as I got home from work. No problem. Instead, now with a daughter, I don't have that option. I watched the movie The Secret Agent starring Wagner Monroe, or however you say his name, Wagner Morrow, the guy who played Pablo Escobar on Narcos. His movie Secret Agent is on Hulu, and it's almost 3 hours long. It took me 4.5 days to watch it because with the daughter and stuff, I'd be like, okay, Tara's got Teddy eating lunch right now. I'm going to try to watch 20 minutes of the movie. And then, okay, Teddy's napping. I'm going to go do the dishes really quick, clean up some stuff, and then I'm going to try to watch some of the movie. So here's 30 minutes of the movie. And it over a span of like 4.5 days, I finally was able to finish the movie last night. And then I watched Hamnet. So Hamnet's been watched. Let me go over the list. What do we got for the Oscars, George? Do you have the list handy, chance, if you don't mind? I'll have you name them off, and I'll let you know yes or no if I've watched it. Yeah, Best Picture. So I can say off the top of my head right now, yes, One Battle After Another. Yes, I watched that one. That was one of the first ones I watched. Marty Supreme I watched a few weeks ago. That's one that I saw. F1. We watched F1 on Friday night. Tara and I did. Wanted to make sure we saw it. A lot of times they put that one at the very bottom. It's annoying as hell. But okay. Yes, Begonia I saw. I enjoyed that movie. Should it be Best Picture? No. F1 I watched. Should it even be nominated for Best Picture? No. Decent movie, but again, has no business being nominated for Best Picture. It was let me preface, it's a good movie. If you just want to go watch like a good like fun racing movie, Brad Pitt being like the aging, race guy, it was good. Had no business being nominated for Best Picture. Frankenstein, we watched that on Netflix when it came out. Good movie. I enjoyed it. Again, I don't really see it as like a Best Picture quality movie personally. Hamnet, I watched last night. That is a tale about Bill Shakespeare, his just tragedy and him pursuing a career of doing stage plays and stuff like that. It was good. Again, I mean, it was fine. I don't know if it deserves to be a Best Picture. It was just an interesting movie. I don't know. I'm really bad at that kind of stuff when it comes to like movie reviewers. There's people out there that are like, oh, the cinematography was beautiful and this and that. And I watch a movie and basically I'm like, if the movie was good, I like it. If it wasn't good, I don't like it. I'm a basic man. And Hamnet was fine. It was something I watched once. I'll never watch it again. So I would say no for Best Picture. Marty Supreme, I did like. I'm not a huge Timothy Chalamet fan. I think he just looks too young for any role, and for him to be playing like a, I don't know, upper 20s businessman in this movie that plays ping pong and stuff. It was a good movie. My issue with Marty Supreme, though, is I thought the dialect was too modern. So this movie's taking place in like the 60s or 50s or whatever. I forgot what year, but it's taking place a while ago. And he kind of just talks like a normal person would talk today. And I just feel like that was off. I feel like for that timeline, or that like time in history, nobody would have been talking like he was. And that kind of threw me off on the movie. It was also way too long. So Marty Supreme was a good movie. And if it wins Best Picture or he wins Best Actor, I could see that 100%. But I also don't necessarily think it was like award worthy. Yep, Leonardo DiCaprio, good movie, a little too long, in my opinion. But it was good. I feel like this one's going to win Best Picture kind of by default. But it was good. Again, it just wasn't. These aren't movies to me that like I'm going to find myself returning to in the future. And when I look at a Best Picture, I would think it's a movie that I'm going to want to watch multiple times because it's so fucking good. Like Parasite. Parasite won Best Picture a few years ago, or 10 years ago, whatever. And I love it. I could watch Parasite twice a year, like multiple times. If it's on TV, I could turn it on. Like I really enjoy that movie. For me, none of the nominees this year are movies that fit that category to where I'm going to be like, I want to go back and watch that. But yeah, One Battle After Another was good. Secret Agent was very long and actually pretty boring, if I'm being honest. The story just, it didn't need to be a 3-hour movie. There was no need for it to be that long. Again, the middle got kind of stale and it just kept dragging. And you're like, why the fuck was this 2 hours and 45 minutes? So Secret Agent, decent movie overall. Like it was an interesting premise. And I like Wagner Moura, the guy who played Pablo Escobar. I like him as an actor. Not a Best Picture movie though. That one I have not seen yet. That's one of the two that I've yet to watch. So Sentimental Value is on my list. Sinners I saw. That's the Michael B. Jordan movie, not to be confused with Michael V. Jordan. And I don't understand the hype of this movie. I thought it was fine. It was a good movie. Same thing. Did not need to be as long as it was. It could have been about a half hour shorter. And it was fine. I don't know. Best Picture, the hype it's getting at all these award shows, I think it's fake. I think it's phony. I think it's some sort of like race fear where they're like, oh, well, we got to give some of these lesser awards to the movie with the black people because we don't want to look racist. And it's a shame because, again, it's a good movie. Like, there's nothing wrong with the movie, but for them to act like it's some great, like, history-changing film in Hollywood, I didn't see it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but it was fine. Train Dreams is number 2. That's the one that I have yet to see. That's on Netflix. I plan on trying to watch that one tomorrow. So Sentimental Value and Train Dreams are the two. Gun to my head, I would say One Battle After Another or Marty Supreme are going to take it. And there should be one more. Isn't there a Korean film? You didn't skip one? There's definitely a Korean movie that I can't remember the name of. Hmm. I can't remember the name of it. There's definitely a. I watched it. That's how I know it. There's a Korean movie. Uh, yeah, that's weird. Where did it go? Where the hell did it go? Let's have a look. All right, Parasite was the winner for the Korean movie in 2019. Uh, bu- 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 bu. Best Korean movie, Best Picture nominee. Let's do that. Let's try nominee. Yeah, it's called No Other Choice. Looks like it got taken off of Best Picture. That is very bizarre. I swear they were just talking about it on Rover actually, and they were asking the same questions. They said, "What movies have you watched?" And they asked them if they watched No Other Choice, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that was a nominee for Best Picture like a couple of months ago." That's the only reason I heard of it. That is weird. That's like the Mandela effect. I'm gonna have to look into that. I got to do some deeper diving and figure out what the hell happened. I swear to God, it was nominated because that's the only reason I made sure to watch it. Because I was like, okay, here's a nice. I like Korean stuff. I think they do a really good job with movies and TV shows. And I was like, oh, that'll be cool. I'll watch another Korean movie after Parasite won Best Picture. So I watched No Other Choice, and now it's not even nominated. What the hell happened? I gotta look into that. Um, hmm. That's so weird. So now it's all of a sudden now they're saying that it is not on any nominations and it is considered a major snub. And they said it's one of the biggest snubs of the 2026 season. Weird. I swear to God, it was on a list. That's the only reason I watched it. But I don't know. I digress. I guess I watched that one just for fun. That's so weird. I swear on my life, a few weeks ago, I was looking up the nomination list and No Other Choice was on it. And that's why I watched it because I went through the list. But okay, that's weird. It's not nominated for anything, not even international movie. Interesting. I'm going to have to do a deep dive into that because that's interesting. But before I do that, it is time to talk free agency. We have officially reached the NFL free agency season is open, trades are happening, the Browns are making moves, and I cannot stress enough to everybody that I think the Browns, and I think Browns fans need to understand this, I think the Browns are fully tanking this season. Nobody wants to hear it, but they are tanking. And it's not even looking at the free agents they're picking up. Okay, they're trying to throw some beef on the offensive line, but they're bringing in a lot of bums. They have signed Jake Stoll, a tight end, Like that's David Njoku's replacement essentially. They've traded for Titus Howard, the right tackle. They signed Zion Johnson, the guard from the San Diego Padres. I'm an idiot. Los Angeles Chargers. In my head, I was thinking San Diego Chargers, and then I was like, no, that's not right. And then I just did a full brain fart and said a baseball team. Los Angeles Chargers. And he was a first-round pick a few years ago, but hasn't been that good. They signed, they retained Tevin Jenkins, I'm sorry, and then they signed his brother. I don't even know. I forgot how to pronounce his first name. It's like Elgno Jenkins or something. How the hell do you pronounce it? Elton? I don't know. So they got the Jenkins brothers playing center and guard next to each other, and all signs right now are pointing to Joel Bitonio skipping town. Joel Bitonio is not being a release, or I'm sorry, Joel Bitonio has not had his contract restructured for a retirement. It looks like they are going to let him become a free agent, and he is going to sign with another team. Is the way it's looking right now for Joel Bitonio, which is sad. Would have been nice to see him end his career here in Cleveland, but I don't think that's going to happen. And then left tackle is currently wide open, which is expected. It's hard you're not going to find a left tackle in free agency to come right in. Defensively, they've lost a few pieces. They lost Devin Bush, but they did sign Quincy Williams, the linebacker formerly from the Jets. And that's pretty much it off the top of my head. I got a list here. I got to pull up. From CBS. CBS's website takes forever to load. So let's go through it. Why is that not loading? Son of a biscuit. There it is. The full tracker. It's kind of annoying that you have to jump through hoops to find what you want to find. You should be able to just click a link and it's like, okay, here's we know what you're looking for. Not, oh, you're going to click this article because you want to see free agent tracker. Oh, well, if you scroll down, it's just going to tell you that you can click another link to find out. It's like, what the hell? So obviously I'll go over significant things from other teams, but for right now I'm going to just talk about the Cleveland Browns. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. No, that's it. Elgton Jenkins, Zion Johnson, Quincy Williams, and Jack Stoll. Did I say Jake Stoll earlier? Whatever. He's a bum. Doesn't matter. And then they traded for Titus Howard, as I mentioned, and they retained Ronnie Hickman, and they retained Tevin Jenkins. So that's what the Browns have done via free agency right now. So a whole lot of nothing. And kind of as I suspected, they did... They what's the word I'm looking for? They restructured Deshaun Watson's contract for the final time, and that's going to get Deshaun Watson his last year as a Cleveland Brown before he officially gets released next March is what's going to happen. And we have no quarterback, no weapons on offense. The weapons stink. I think Browns fans are a little too forgiving and full of shit, I guess would be the best thing to say, over their own players. And what I mean by that is Jerry Jeudy's an okay wide receiver. After Jerry Jeudy, you have nothing. Harold Fannon's a good tight end. After Harold Fannon, you have nothing. Quinshon Judkins is a good running back. After Judkins, you have, as of right now, it's safe to say nothing. And your quarterback situation is nothing. So the offense is going to stink. I don't see anything helping this. Shedeur Sanders stinks. Deshaun Watson stinks. Dylan Gabriel stinks. Whoever else they might want to bring in is going to stink. Everybody knows that. So there's no fixing the Cleveland Browns in the 2026 season. That's why I do think they're going to go after some very, very unsexy draft picks. And I don't know what's going on in the world because it seems like everything kind of sucks right now. And what I mean by that, let me take a sip of water and I'll tell you. This year's free agency class was garbage. There were no really good players available this year. There were some decent ones, but that's it. This year's draft class, average as hell, except for Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza, in my opinion, is a no-brainer, can't-miss prospect, number one overall pick quarterback. You got to take him. After him, Wide open. I couldn't even tell you right now, gun to my head, who's going to go number 2. Do I think it's going to be Arvel Reese? I do. Am I confident in like making a wager on that? No. So those stink. And then as I was talking a little bit about the Oscar nomination movies about 10 minutes ago or whatever with George, those movies stink. There's not even good movies for nominations this year. They all stunk. Like some of them, again, they were fine. Like One Battle After Another could win it because it was a good watch, but will I ever go back and watch that movie a second time? No. Marty Supreme, same thing. Watched it. Will I ever go out of my way to watch it a second time? No. But these are the movies that they're nominating for Best Picture. I guess I just don't understand the concept of what makes a Best Picture film. Is it just because it's artsy and, whatever? But none of these movies were good. And none of them were necessary. Like I'm watching the Hamnet movie, and it's a telling of the Hamlet story with William Shakespeare. And I'm watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, how did this get greenlit? Not that it was bad, but I'm just thinking in my head, like, how do you go in a room where you have to pitch a movie and you have to essentially beg to get millions and millions of dollars so you can make this movie, and your idea is, hey, let's make Hamlet. We're going to call it Hamnet, and it's going to be a story of William Shakespeare and his wife upbringing kids and tragedy and just sad stuff. And people are like, all right, can you make it 2 hours? Sure can. You got it. Here's a couple million. Same thing with Marty Supreme. Like, okay, we want to make a biopic about a guy that plays ping pong, table tennis. And it's going to take place in the 50s. I don't know if it's a true story. Honestly, I'd never Googled it. It could be for all I know. It's going to take place in the 50s. He's going to be a scumbag. He's going to, and we're not even going to pretend like he's in that timeline. He's going to just talk like he would in 2026. And they're like, okay, here you go. Best Picture. Let's get us Timothée Chalamet for that. And I don't know. I just nothing sticks out. I could do that for all the movies. I'm not going to do that because that would take up too much time. But I don't know. None of them are exciting. No free agents are exciting. No players in the draft are exciting. There's just nothing to look forward to if you're a Browns fan right now. It's kind of depressing. I used to at least get excited for the offseason because I could pretend that the Browns are going to make some moves that are going to make the team better. And this year, there's nothing. I know that there's nothing. I'm not falling for any hooks, or I'm not getting hooked. I'm not falling for any traps. I know they're going to stink. I know they're not going to get any good, like, franchise-changing players in the draft. So that's kind of where I'm going into it. Even last year, I was talking with my uncle about that. My uncle was like, if Andrew Berry can have another draft like he did last year, we're in good shape. And I said, you really think last year's draft was that good? And he goes, well, yeah, he knocked it out of the park. And I said, okay, he took a defensive tackle, top 5, who was good, but let's be honest, is Mason Graham a top 5 player the way he played? No. I mean, it was only year 1. I'm not knocking him for his career, but he wasn't good enough to justify a top 5 pick. In hindsight. Carson Schlesinger, yes, stud. Great pick. Not going to deny that one at all. Makes a ton of tackles. Really good player. Quinshon Judkins. Is he a great running back? No, he's good. He was very good. That was it. He was very good. Running backs are a dime a dozen. I'm not really getting too excited about that. I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on Quinshon Judkins because that's not at all what I'm doing. I like him as a player. I like him on the Browns. I'm very happy that he's here. But do I think that he is some amazing running back that like he's going to change our franchise? No. Running backs have short shelf lives. There's a good chance Quinshon Judkins is only a Cleveland Brown for like 5 years at most. Or 4 years, I should say. Because he was a second-round pick. So Quinshon Judkins could only be a Brown for like 4 years. And then he's gone. The second-round pick. Third-round pick. Say what you will about Dylan Gabriel. A lot of people hate the guy like he did something personal to them. He's just a kid trying to play football. He got drafted in the 3rd round. Not his fault, but everybody hates him. But with that being said, that's a bad pick in grand scheme of things now. Horrible pick. You wasted a 3rd-round pick on a guy. So that's bad. Harold Fannin, good pick. Great value. Not knocking that one at all. So that's a good one. So I'll give you that. So you got Schlesinger and you got Fannin. Boom. Nailed those picks. Then you go a little further back, and then you go to Shedeur Sanders. Well, I take that back. They drafted who else did they take? Dylan Sampson, who looked good in a couple games and then never really got any playing time, so wasted pick. And then, Shedeur Sanders. You took 2 quarterbacks, and created a horrible controversy, a horrible media storm for a not good quarterback. So just bad drafting. I'm like, how do you consider that a home run, quote unquote, home run draft? And you got 2 good players out of it. That's good when you go by the odds. You got 2 really good players. You got 2 good players out of this draft. I'll give you that. So we'll go Mason Graham and we'll go Quinshon Judkins as your good players, and you'll go really good with Carson Schlesinger and Harold Fannin. So, okay, you got good players. It's early. Again, I know this isn't their full career. They could go up or down. But to say that it was a home run draft and to act like this year's going to, be a cornerstone building block situation for the Browns, I just don't see it. So we'll see what happens with the draft and everything. But again, with free agency, this is exactly what I expected from the Browns. Browns were not going to spend a ton of money. The Browns weren't going to even be able to recruit that well because getting people to want to come to Cleveland is easier said than done. And with how bad they've been, with the dysfunction, with the Shedeur Sanders media circus, I wouldn't be surprised if there were players that wouldn't even entertain the Browns' phone calls because they're like, I'm not going to Cleveland. I'm not playing on that team. That's a shit show. I 100% could believe that. And I'm a Browns fan, but I'm a realist. So fully expected that that's what's happening. Before we go to the rest of the NFL for free agency updates, quickly I want to talk about the biggest story that hit the news, and that is, of course, one Maximus Crosby. Max Crosby was announced that he was traded for 2 first-round draft picks for the Baltimore Ravens. That happened on Friday night, Saturday night, something like that, something over the weekend. So, okay, done deal. He's traded, and as a Browns fan, you're looking at it and you're like, well, shit, that sucks. He's a really good player, and now he's in our division. He's on a Super Bowl contending team. He's on our division rival. That sucks. And then out of nowhere, last night, news breaks. The Las Vegas Raiders make a post that say the Baltimore Ravens have backed out of their trade with us, and Max Crosby will return to the Las Vegas Raiders or whatever. And it was like, we have no further comment on the matter right now. So the Baltimore Ravens backed out of the trade. Now, there were some reporters that said because of a failed physical, and the way it was worded by other people just said they backed out of the trade, which means they just said, we changed our mind. Sorry, the league year didn't start yet. Paperwork hasn't been submitted. We are out. And you think, okay, maybe some time will pass. They'll figure this out. They'll make it work. Maybe, I've seen situations like that where it's like, okay, they're going to trade him for 2 first-round picks, and then maybe they have a bad physical or something like that. And then the Ravens might call back and say, hey, you know what? Instead of 2 firsts, I'll give you a first and a second because he's hurt. He's not as healthy as we thought, so I don't want to give up that much. And the Ravens might say, the Raiders might say, okay, we'll take that deal. Or maybe they do balk at that point. They go their separate ways. However, the Ravens just said, nope. And then they went ahead and signed Trey Hendrickson this morning. So they replaced Max Crosby instantly. The Raiders are pissed. And the rest of the NFL, from my understanding, is not happy with the Baltimore Ravens. They look at that as a very shitty, scummy thing to do to back out of a trade like that, because now you have Max Crosby, who is hands down the best player on the Raiders, or was the best player, and he wanted out, rightfully so. They're going through a rebuild. He's not getting any younger. He probably wants to go to a contender, and that's exactly what they were trying to do with him. And the Ravens said, we'll take you. A team that's historically known for being very frugal with their draft picks decided to trade 2 first-round picks, and then they backed out at the last second. Very shitty move. And again, there haven't really been any actual comments that said it was because of his physical. There were reports, but the Ravens didn't come out and say that. If the Ravens came out and said it, everyone would be like, okay, that makes sense. If they're like, no, his medicals were terrible. He just had a surgery in January. Maybe it's not healing properly or something. I don't know. But they backed out, and the rest of the NFL is pissed. I don't really know where to stand on that. On one hand, I couldn't be happier that it happened. As a Browns fan, I don't want the Ravens to have Max Crosby, so good. I'm glad he didn't get traded. But then on the other hand, I look at how shitty it is in Bush League it is by the Ravens. But then I also think that's a good situation too, because as a Browns fan, that now means they are a hated team. And take it for what it's worth. It's all social media, so I don't know if it's accurate or truthful or what. But there are reports coming out that say that agents and players are now kind of pissed off at the Ravens for acting like that, and they're like, there are people that said like, I'll never have a client sign there. Is that true? I don't know. Could just be hearsay or something to stir the pot to get people talking. But it's possible. There could be some agents out there. Like if you're the agent for Max Crosby, I would be pissed, and I'd be like, I'm never doing fucking business with the Ravens again. But we'll see if it's true or not. However, funny that it happened to a team like the Ravens, who's always been looked at as some prestigious, organization and the cream of the crop, and they're so great every year, and they're just so well built, and they know what they're doing, and then they pull something like this. It's kind of funny. As a Browns fan, I'm loving it. On the other hand, I would feel bad for the Raiders if my friend weren't Dylan, is his name. If my friend Dylan weren't a Raiders fan in my group chat with my draft guys. He's a Raiders fan, and I hate the Raiders, so I don't want them to have anything good either. So I don't want them to trade him to another team and get more draft picks or whatever. I hope he just sits out the rest of the year and they tank again, and then, nothing but bad things happen to them. Would be ideal. But that's just me, and I'm a bit of a pessimist. But we'll see what happens in that situation. I really don't know what to think of it. Again, I see both sides. I do understand that it's shitty of the Ravens to back out, and I do understand that it's also their prerogative. And that's the problem with the NFL right now, is the NFL is trying to stay relevant, so they allow this early tampering shit, and they allow people to make deals early before they're officially submitted and they can be officially, solidified by the league. They announce it, and before it's actually the paperwork's submitted and the ink's dry, they can go, never mind. And everyone's going to say that that's in bad faith, but it's their prerogative. They're allowed to do that. If you tell somebody like, hey, you know what, I'll take this job next week, we'll sign the paperwork. And then the day before you sign the paperwork for your new job, you're like, you know what, I got cold feet. That's your prerogative. You're allowed to. You're not under contract. You didn't sign anything yet. So I see both sides, but again, very happy that the Ravens are being just dragged through the mud as an organization. Sashi Brown is their team president, and you guys know what Sashi Brown did when he was in Cleveland. So I want nothing but failure for him and the Ravens. So again, I don't know, kind of indifferent on how I feel about this. But that was the biggest move that happened over the weekend. Again, the Ravens quickly pivoted, and without getting Max Crosby, they signed Trey Hendrickson, who was a free agent, who was a very good defensive end for the Bengals till he had some injury issues. And we'll see if he still has some juice in the tank, because he is now on the Baltimore Ravens, who are a whole new team, which is the funny thing that I don't think a lot of people think about. When you think of the Ravens, you just think of them as this, again, a prestigious organization. John Harbaugh, they're tough. They play great defense. They've got Lamar Jackson. And then you realize, oh, those guys are all gone. They have a whole new coaching staff in there now, so it's all new. Interesting. Will be interesting. Will be very interesting to see how this works. Again, for some reason, people just think it's the same old with everybody. I mean, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, and we'll talk about free agency right there. The Pittsburgh Steelers traded for Michael Pittman Jr. They signed, what's his name? They signed a running back. I want to try to get it off the top of my head, but I can't think of it. That's annoying. I'm going to have to click a link, and I clicked the wrong one. Damn, that's going to bother me. There's a good running back. They signed him, and I just can't think of his damn name. I'm going to have to scroll down here to Pittsburgh, because I immediately joked with my buddy, and I was like, damn, I hate Rico Dowdle. That's it. Rico Dowdle. Thank you. Yeah, this website's slow. But yeah, Pittsburgh signed Rico Dowdle. They traded for Michael Pittman. They are doing what they can to bolster up their offense a little bit and get it ready for, I assume, what would be an Aaron Rodgers farewell tour. Team him up with Mike McCarthy one last time. Yeah, they signed Jamel Dean. They signed Rico Dowdle, Darnell Savage, and Cam Johnston. They retained Cam Hayward, Asante Samuel Jr., Cole Holcomb, Ezi Odamewo, whoever that is, and Jack Driscoll. offensive linemen. Now let's go from the bottom. Everyone always starts at the top. This is an alphabetical order, and we are going to go through every free agency signing and retainment. So let's do it really quick. Let's try to speed through this. The Washington Commanders are not fucking around on defense. They are going after everybody. They have Odafe Owa, Leo Chenal, Tim Settle, Chigozim Okonwo, however you say that, the tight end. I don't know how to pronounce his fucking name. You guys know who I'm talking about, though. Amik Robertson, Nick Cross, and Kelvon Chason, defensive end. So they're going after some defensive players there. They retained... screw it. I'm not going over retained. That's too much work. If a guy got retained, they got retained. Who gives a shit? The Tennessee Titans were active. Robert Saleh is loading up that defense. They have Wan'Dale Robinson, John Franklin Myers, Alante Taylor, Cordell Flott, Daniel Bellinger, Austin Schlottman, Jordan Elliott, former Brown, Tommy Townsend, Cordell Volson, Mitch Trubisky, Josh Williams, Bryce Oliver, and Malik Herring, and they traded for Solomon Thomas. That's the Tennessee Titans offseason so far. Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed Alex Anzalone, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jake Browning so far. Seattle Seahawks have signed nobody. Literally, they might be the only team that have zero signings. San Francisco 49ers, Mike Evans, 3-year deal, going to San Fran. Him next to that power grid is going to be excellent. His hamstring is going to fall off the bone like the most perfectly cooked rib you can think of, smoked. And veteran Lowe, Brett Toth, 2 offensive linemen. I already talked about Pittsburgh there, so I'm not going to do that twice. Philadelphia Eagles have signed Tariq Woolen, the defensive back, and tight end Johnny Munt. That's it for the Eagles. The Eagles have lost a lot, though, unfortunately, for them, but that's the price you pay. The New York Jets have signed Joseph Osayi, Demario Davis for his 3rd stint, Dylan Parham, David Onimata, Kingsley Enagbar, Dane Belton, Nishawn Wright, Andrew Beck, and Cade York, the former Brown kicker. They also traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they traded for Geno Smith. So the New York Jets are going to be really bad next year based on this offseason. This is not a good free agents class or trade class for them. The New York Giants are making some splashes. They bring Isaiah Likely, the former Raven, to follow John Harbaugh to the Giants. Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker, punter Jordan Stout, Greg Newsome, former Brown, Patrick Ricard, former Raven, Adarius Washington, and Jason Sanders go to the New York Giants. The New Orleans Saints signed offensive guard David Edwards, Travis Etienne, Caden Ellis, Ryan Wright, the punter, and tight end Noah Fant. Decent haul there for New Orleans. The New England Patriots have Romeo Doubs, Elijah Vera Tucker, Draymond Jones, Reggie Gillum, Kevin Byard, Jesse Lukta, KJ Britt, Julian Hill, and Mike Brown. Minnesota Vikings have only signed cornerback James Pierre. They are close to signing Kyler Murray, from my understanding, though. You heard it here first on the Talking About Balls podcast. Miami Dolphins signed Malik Willis, Zane Gonzalez, Joshua Uche, Lonnie Johnson Jr., Zane Anderson, Ben Sims, and Alex Austin. The Los Angeles Rams signed Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs. They traded for Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs. Then they signed Jalen Watson, formerly of the Chiefs, and they signed long snapper Joe Cardona. The Los Angeles Chargers signed offensive center Tyler Biadasz, Charlie Kohler, tight end Cole Strange, and Alex Ingold. The Vegas Raiders traded for Taron Johnson from the Bills, and they signed Tyler Lindenbaum to the biggest offensive center contract in NFL history. He gets 3 years, $81 million, $60 million guarantee. They signed defensive lineman Kwity Paye, linebacker Quay Walker, linebacker Nakobe Dean, wide receiver Jalen Naylor, and kicker Matt Gay. And they also keep Max Crosby for the time being. We'll see what happens with that. The Kansas City Chiefs signed Kenneth Walker III, the MVP of the Super Bowl, Alohi Gilman, and Kairos Tonga, the defensive tackle fullback, and they also keep Travis Kelce to a 1-year, $12 million deal. That one's worth mentioning. Jacksonville Jaguars signed Chris Rodriguez Jr., the running back, so far, to replace Travis Etienne. Indianapolis Colts have signed Arden Key and Michael Clemens, and they retained Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce for a combined almost $100 million per year for two average white guys on offense. So that's going to really end well for them. They also traded away their first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. So the Colts are going to suck ass. That's really bad management, and the Colts should be ashamed of themselves. Reed Blankenship signs with the Houston Texans. Braden Smith, Logan Hall, Dominique Robinson, Jake Hummel, Foster Moreau, the tight end. They trade for David Montgomery and Kai Kroger, the punter. Decent offseason there for the Texans. Green Bay Packers signed Javon Hargrave, Benjamin St-Juste, and Sky Moore. They also traded for Zaire Franklin from the Colts. Decent linebacker right there. Good pickup. The Detroit Lions have signed Cade Mays, Rock Ya-Sin, the cornerback, Teddy Bridgewater, Isaiah Pacheco, Larry Borum, and they traded for Juice Scruggs from the Texans, the interior offensive lineman. Denver Broncos have signed nobody. 0 signings for the Denver Broncos. Dallas Cowboys have signed Jalen Thompson, the safety, PJ Locke, the safety, Otito Ogbonina, defensive tackle, Sam Howell, Tyrus Wheat, and they traded for Rashawn Gary from the Packers. Already talked about the Browns. Are going to skip them. Cincinnati Bengals have signed Boy Mafe, the defensive end, and safety Brian Cook. Not a whole lot going on for them. Chicago Bears signed not that Kobe Bryant. They steal Devin Bush from the Cleveland Browns. They signed defensive tackle Nevin Gallimore, Khalif Raymond, the kick returner, wide receiver, Cam Lewis, the defensive back. I think he used to be a Cleveland Brown also. Cam Lewis, a former Cleveland Brown. Jedrick Wills signs a 1-year deal with the Chicago Bears, and Kentavious Street. They also traded for offensive center Garrett Bradbury. Carolina Panthers sign Jalen Phillips to a 4-year, $120 million deal. Horrible signing by them. That's way too much money. That was literally just a terrible decision. They give Devin Lloyd a decent contract, the linebacker. They bring in Kenny Pickett, Luke Fortner, John Mechie III, Mechie, and offensive tackle Stone Forsyth. DJ Moore was also traded from the Bears to the Buffalo Bills. Forgot to mention him. Actually, I'd get to that here in a second. I'm an idiot. I jumped the gun. Buffalo Bills traded for DJ Moore. There you go. They sign defensive pass rusher Bradley Chubb to a 3-year, $43 million deal as well. Good signing for them. Cornerback D. Alford and quarterback Kyle Allen for the Buffalo Bills. Baltimore Ravens signed, as I mentioned earlier, Trey Hendrickson. They signed offensive guard John Simpson, Jalen Hawkins, and Durham Smythe. The Atlanta Falcons have been busy with Mr. Kevin Stefanski. They keep Kyle Pitts. They gave him a franchise tag. They want to keep him in the offense. They signed Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver, kicker Nick Folk, punter Jake Bailey, tight end Austin Hooper, Cam Thomas, the pass rusher, former Cleveland Brown, Tua Tagovailoa, 1-year contract for $1.3 million deal, Chris Williams, Aziz Ojulari, Channing Tindall, Corey Levin, Olamide Zaccheaus, wide receiver, and Christian Harris, the linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons. Arizona Cardinals sign Isaac Seumalo, Tyler Algier, Roy Lopez, Kendrick Bourne, Gardner Minshew, Andrew Wingard, Matt Pryor, and Casey Kreider. That is it. Yeah, there are just a lot of bad football teams out there. The Arizona Cardinals officially released Kyler Murray. And as I mentioned, I believe he's going to be with the Minnesota Vikings. So the NFL offseason, as I mentioned earlier, sucks. There are no good players out of all those free agent players. And if you look at who's still available, there's nobody good. What's his name? Jedrick Wills. Okay, Kyle just texted me, said, I'm running late. I won't be on. So no Kyle tonight. So it looks like we will have an episode then before the season starts. Let me take a gander here. What do we got? Yeah, I think the season starts the 26th, correct? The whole major regular season for Major League Baseball. Oh, you know what? Technically, it starts the 25th at 8 o'clock because there's a Netflix game to start the season. It's the Giants at the Niners, or at the the Niners at the Giants at the Yankees. Yep, on the 25th. Yep. Yeah, that starts on Netflix because they're doing baseball this season. So that's your first regular season game, technically, is Yankees-Giants, Wednesday, March 25th, 8 o'clock. So yeah, we'll do a show that night then, and then we'll do the preview for everything then because Kyle won't be on tonight, so that works for me. No, but I am intrigued by the Netflix broadcast. I am very intrigued by that, if I'm being honest. So I will watch it. Huh? Yeah, I mean, the Saints are kind of dealing with what the Browns are dealing with in terms of their cap. Like the Giants, or I'm sorry, the Saints have a very bad cap situation. So they, it's 100%. It's definitely every year when the cap gets bigger, they're doing just fine. However, um, the problem is I just don't have faith in them. I don't think that um, Tyler Shuck is going to have success next year. I don't know. I'm just not a Tyler Shuck fan. I don't believe in the Saints as a team. So that's where I'm kind of like indifferent on some of these moves these teams have made. Easier said than done. I mean, the Saints have been garbage for like a decade now, so they can try. They can sure try. I mean, I give credit. The South is going to be wide open. You had the Panthers who snuck into the playoffs last year. You had Tampa Bay who was right there and kind of pissed away the division. The Falcons actually, surprisingly, they were eliminated early, but their record wise, they were right there with the Buccaneers. And the Saints came on late, so that division's kind of opening up to possibly be up for grabs next year. We'll see if any of these teams can continue with their success that they had in the 2025 season. So it's going to be interesting. And then obviously, Kevin Stefanski down there going to be taking on Baker twice a year. Faces the Browns this season. The Falcons are super active in free agency. As I mentioned, they signed Tua. Tua is going to be their starting quarterback next year, so they have their starting quarterback solidified. Kevin Stefanski got to pick his boy, his guy, which is funny because when he was in Cleveland, and again, I'm not here to, I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. It is what it is. They fired him. He's gone. I'm not going to pretend. Say again. No, nothing like that. I just more so am going with like, it seems like Atlanta basically said like, hey, we trust you. We're going to let you do what you want to do. And here, if you like this guy, we'll get him for you. And with the Browns, it seems like, and again, I'm purely speculating, but I feel like every decision that they made was based on Paul DePodesta. And I've always been an anti-Paul DePodesta guy for years and years and years. And I truly feel like he was the one making the decisions for the team. And now that he's gone, and I said this last year, I said after the draft, I said, I feel like Andrew Berry drafted this year by himself. And again, there's still plenty of bad things that happened to it, but it was one of his better drafts. So nobody can argue that. He, I think, did it by himself without Paul DePodesta. So that makes me go, okay, so you're going to give Andrew Berry full reign. You're going to take away Paul DePodesta, but then Kevin Stefanski is still going to be the scapegoat for all of this, for the team stinking. You gave them 1 year to try to rebuild, essentially, or to try to, win more games. You gave them 1 year with multiple rookie quarterbacks. Who's going to have success like that? But again, I digress. Seems like he goes down to Atlanta, and Atlanta's like, hey, we believe in you. We trust you. If you want Tua, who a lot of people are shitting on that signing, but let's not forget that Tua was the NFL yards leader a few years ago. Albeit Tyreek Hill helps that situation, but that's still nothing to slouch at. He led the league in passing yards. That's pretty damn impressive. So it's the talent's there. He's been to multiple Pro Bowls. I don't really consider Pro Bowls to be anything to take home, but they're there. They're in it. The accolades are on his Wikipedia page. You can't take it away from him, just like you can't take it away from Shedeur Sanders, I suppose. But I don't know. I like that Kevin Stefanski's going for it down there in Atlanta. And they don't have a first-round pick this year. You had the Michael Pierce situation that's already happening, so they're going to lose their best pass rusher probably forever because that dude's probably going to go to jail. So a fucked-up situation that, Stefanski's got to try to navigate through. And if he learned how to navigate through a bunch of bullshit, it was while being the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, he's well-prepared and well-versed in everything that's happening to him. But, yeah, the South is wide open. The South is going to be fun. The rest of the NFL, though, I do agree with you, George. There are teams that you can just glaringly see are having no interest in winning. And Arizona Cardinals come to mind. That's a team that, we're going to cut our quarterback and we are going to just roll with it. I think the Dolphins are going to unintentionally suck. I think they're trying to pretend like they're competitive by cutting to signing Malik Willis. I don't think Malik Willis is some franchise-altering player. Yeah, I don't understand. Again, if he's your best option at quarterback in free agency, that shows you how bad free agency is. And then, there's no other teams really aren't doing much. The Ravens signed a couple decent people. The Steelers, I think, are trying way too hard to act like they're gonna be successful, but I don't think Mike McCarthy's turning them around in a year with Aaron Rodgers. I just don't see it. Michael Pittman's a good wide receiver, but has injury issues. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting offseason and an interesting season nonetheless. Teams on paper are going to look much better than they actually play, and vice versa. There are going to be teams that on paper look like they're the worst team in the league, and they're going to, I think last year before the season started, I projected that the Saints would be winless. I was like, they suck. They're going to be lucky to win a game. And when Tyler Shuck came on at the end of the year, they ended up winning a handful of games. They actually had a pretty decent year overall, all things considered. But on paper, they look like they could legitimately be an 0-17 team. And I would have happily said I predict them to have the number 1 overall pick. I think they're going to be that bad. And then the Raiders ended up tanking. Then you have a team like the Jets. Okay, Jets are going into year 2 with Aaron Glenn, which means Aaron Glenn is probably entering year 2 on the hot seat. The Jets need to win some football games, and their decision is to bring in Geno Smith. Their decision is to bring in who else did they trade for? Minka Fitzpatrick, safety, which is a horrible move. I don't think that's going to help your team at all. And they decided to switch their defense to a 3-4. They're making all these major changes that I feel like they're going to struggle. And I don't know if Aaron Glenn survives the season. So it's just an interesting situation. And I think that's a telltale sign of a bad franchise. And, I'm saying this as a Browns fan. I know what the Jets fans go through because the Jets are equally as bad of an organization. And just making some boneheaded moves. The Browns, at least, I think, are very clearly telling people, we know we're going to suck this year, so that's why we're not going crazy in free agency. We're bringing in some offensive linemen just because we don't have any. With the Browns currently, before free agency started, I should say, the Browns had no starter caliber players, truthfully. I mean, they had DeJuan Jones, who, assuming he comes back healthy from his injury, is your only starting left offensive lineman that you could kind of be like, okay, he can start. I get it. Everybody else, you're like, no, are we going to start Zach Zinter? Or are we going to, is Tevin Jenkins going to be our everyday tackle? Is he going to play guard? We need to put these guys somewhere. Ethan Posick obviously got hurt at the end of the year. He tore his Achilles, so he's out for most of this season, if I had to guess. So again, it's okay. Are we going with Zach Zinter? Are we going with DeJuan Jones? Are we going with all these bums? And they trade for Titus Howard, decent trade. They sign Jenkins. They keep Jenkins. They sign his brother to play center. They sign Zion Johnson, who, technically speaking, if you actually pay attention to football, Zion Johnson was very bad last year for the Chargers. The Chargers had a horrible offensive line. And I don't like the signing. That's hands down my least favorite move the Browns have made was keeping Zion Johnson, or was signing Zion Johnson, I should say. So we'll see how that one works out, but I don't love that one at all. But they had to overpay, and he's not very good. But when you're a bad team, that's what you do. Switching gears, we'll probably just, now that, since Kyle's not going to join us and we're pushing off the MLB thing, I'm not really prepared to do a full show, George, if I'm being honest, to fill it to 9. So we can switch to NBA really quick. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA, and obviously we'll talk about the historic night last night from Bam, and then we will move to just the tip, if that works. So we'll do Bam Adebayo right here scored 83 points last night against the tanking, speaking of tanking, Washington Wizards. Say what you will, there are people out there that are trying to go, hey, this guy scored 83 points. That's historic. Everyone should be showing him love. But if you actually saw how it happened, it was truly an embarrassing moment for the history of the NBA. And if you're not familiar with what happened, yes, Bam Adebayo scored 83 points. He did that by shooting over 40 free throws. He got to the free throw line 46 times, I think, or 43 times or something like that. There were times where the Heat, because they had such a big lead, the game was a blowout, they were purposely fouling the Wizards to get the ball back quicker, to give the ball to Bam Adebayo to break this record. It was bullshit. It was such an embarrassing moment for the NBA, especially when you have a guy like Bam Adebayo who's likely not even he's not even a Hall of Famer. The dude has 0 championships. He's never been an MVP. He's a good basketball player, but he's not a Hall of Famer in my opinion. I don't think the NBA Hall of Fame is like super easy to get into, but I also feel like there might be some guys that get in where you're kind of like, eh. But Bam Adebayo is one guy that as far as I'm concerned, should never be a Hall of Famer, and he scored 83 points. I just feel like if he did it naturally, totally cool, 100%. I get it. For me, it would be Kobe Bryant, 81 points in 3 quarters, historic, will never be topped. That's such a great moment. Kobe's a top 5 player of all time, give or take, depending on who you're talking to. Historic, great. Wilt Chamberlain has the record that, debatable. The 100-point game. Is it real? Is it not? I don't know. But he has that record. It's Wilt Chamberlain. He's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Again, non-debatable Hall of Famer. Then Bam Adebayo, 83 points because they just kept fouling and it was bullshit. And I watched some clips and I'm watching him chuck up these ugly shots, just literally foul baiting. And I was like, okay. Like he'd get the ball, run up, and essentially just chuck up this ugly 3 with a defender right by him just to get a foul call. It was ugly. It was bullshit. I think it's the least memorable, historical moment that could happen in my lifetime. Between that, and that's the other thing. I talk about how bad the Oscar nominations are. I talk about how bad free agency is. I talk about how bad the draft is. And now I look at these moments. The Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl. They beat the shit out of the New England Patriots. That was one of the least memorable Super Bowls we're ever going to talk about. In 10 years, when we look back and go, who won the Super Bowl in the year for the 2025 season? We're going to be like, I don't know, man, who was it? And you're going to go, oh, fuck, the Seahawks. That's right. No one's going to remember it. Same thing can be said with this Bam Adebayo situation. They're going to go, who's the second leading scorer, or who had the second most points in a game in NBA history in 10 years for a trivia night? And someone's going to go, Kobe Bryant. And they're going to go, no, Bam Adebayo. And they're going to go, oh, I forgot about him because he's a non-memorable player. He's not going to the Hall of Fame. Bullshit, junk, garbage NBA. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are trying to pretend like, oh, you're just a hater if you're hating on a guy who scored 83 points. But again, go back and look at it. It was bullshit. It was junk basketball. I would be pissed if I bought a ticket to that game. I mean, yeah, you can go back and say I was at the 83-point game, but it was just such an embarrassment. It was like watching little kids. When I was a coach, when I coached my 6th grade cousin and her team, the other teams would try to do stuff like that. They'd be like, oh, just run up to him and try to grab the ball. Let's just get a jump ball. Like that was their strategy. And that's kind of like what the Heat did. It's garbage. It's not real basketball. It was ugly. It was a bruise. It was a black eye to the sport. And I don't respect Bam Adebayo any more today than I did yesterday after scoring 83 points. If anything, I respect him less, truth be told, because of how shitty they did it. I don't like it. With that said, let's get a quick update on the schedule. I'm going to full screen mode here because I can't read it, or with the standings, I'm sorry. The Detroit Pistons hold first place slimly from the Boston Celtics. The New York Knicks are in 3rd. Cavaliers are right behind them in 4th place. The Toronto Raptors are in 5th. Miami Heat 6th. Orlando Magic 7. Sixers 8. Hawks 9. And the Charlotte Hornets 10 for that final play-in spot. The Bucks are trying to sneak in. The Bulls are right there too, really not that far off. And then you've got your tankers. You've got the Nets, you've got the Wizards, and you've got the Pacers, who are all not making the playoffs. So that's your Eastern Conference look. And then for the Western Conference, you're currently standing at the Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, are 1, Spurs 2, Rockets 3, Lakers 4, Timberwolves 5, Nuggets 6, Suns, Clippers, Warriors, Blazers. And then your bottom is they're all tanking. The Grizzlies, the Mavericks, the Pelicans, and the Jazz and the Kings are all tanking. No question about it. They were making me some very, very easy money for the last couple of weeks because I've been making bets just against those teams. And combined, they went 0-40 in their last 40 combined games. Pretty awesome. for my bank account. Excuse me. Not mad about it at all. If a team's going to tank, I'm going to make a parlay with like 3 teams losing and go boom, 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 hit them. Let's win. As I said to George, next up, we were going to be getting into Major League Baseball to do, our New Year predictions, but Kyle could not make it tonight. He had a dinner for work, and he warned me he was going to try to make it around 8 o'clock, but he said he can't. So we're going to go on without him. George, if you want to hop on with me, do you have a tip this week?
Yes, I do.
Hit us.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Oop, darn it. Trying to just get that slide prep. Alrighty. Come on. There we go. Something cool that I came across while y'all been gone is on Netflix, there was a little thing that popped up and I saw this and I was like, oh, you got my attention. A woman playing chess? Yeah, I'm in. I'm all about this. So the Queen's Gambit. Very interesting. It was a like mini series.
Yeah.
It was several different episodes kind of thing. It was like a little mini series. And I really dug this. Being an avid fun chess player myself, and I've even taught Bryce, we dig playing. And when I saw this, I was like, huh, I had never heard of her. And I was like, this is interesting. And in fact, Kelly even came in the room and she saw me watching it, and she's watching this girl, tearing apart some fabric from the house where she lives. And is like 1967, and it's like, oh, crushed velvet couch and everything is like, oh man, yeah, this is old. I was like, holy cow. Very cool little series that they put together. This was very entertaining. I definitely, the whole backdrop and how, Team USA basically helped her prep her for the Russian challenge. It was really, really cool. It was very cool. I really liked it a lot.
I remember when this came out and everybody was raving about it. I personally have yet to watch it. It's been on my list forever, but I definitely want to watch it. I liked it, or it looked really good. If I remember correctly, I think it's based on a best-selling novel, I think, or something like that. I believe it's based off a novel. But yeah, Queen's Gambit, I've heard nothing but good things. Female chess player, takes place, like George said, back in like the 60s or whatever, which obviously, women have come a long way with how they've been treated in America and they're in the world, I should say. And especially in like competitive things, competitions. And yeah, I haven't watched it, but I've heard nothing but good things. It's definitely on my list. I actually was thinking about it the other day because I listened to the Daniel Tosh podcast. And a few weeks ago, he had an episode where he had a chess grandmaster on. I forgot the guy's name, but he interviewed one of the best chess players in the world on his show. And if you're not familiar with Daniel Tosh, very funny comedian, hosted Tosh.0, of course, but he was a stand-up comedian first. And he had this chess guy on there, but the way he does his podcast is like everybody else in the world, they do their podcast, it's the same thing. They get if it's a comedian, they get other comedians on the show. If it's, an actor, they get other actors. It's the same shit. Daniel Tosh goes after random ass people. Like he did an episode with a lady that owns like a bakery that makes gingerbread houses. He had a guy that cleans up snow at like a ski resort. He gets the most random people that aren't celebrities, like just people that like, oh, this guy works, he built the deck in my backyard, he works in construction, let's have him on the show. Like, it's really cool. And he did that with this chess grandmaster who's a guy who they've never met. Daniel Tosh, just, I don't know how they came about, but they reached out, had this guy on the show, and this grandmaster was there, and you could tell it wasn't really his style of an interview, but he was a trooper. He had fun. And he's talked about his whole life of chess and how like he'd go to tournaments and beat people and what you have to do to be a grandmaster. And it was a really cool interview. So I highly recommend that, George. I didn't know you're a chess fan. So if you get a chance, check that out from Daniel Tosh from just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I will.
with that said, it is time for my Just the Tip, and I had to throw a curveball in there. I was going to go with a book, and I completely forgot. New Found Glory, one of my favorite pop punk bands, and just one of my favorite bands of all time in general. They put out a new album called Listen Up, and I got to say, it's good. It's really good. I love New Found Glory. I've been a New Found Glory fan since like the early 2000s when they were brand new. Long story short, I won't bore everybody with the details, but they were a 5-piece band, and one of their guitar players was their main songwriter, and this dude was talented. He put together like all of their hits. They had huge songs. They were one of the biggest pop punk bands in the world. They were like headlining Warped Tours and stuff like that. They were huge. And then that guitarist was outed for inappropriate messages with underage girls and stuff like that, which, rightfully so. He was kicked out of the band, and they were all like really heartbroken by it because, you're in a band, those are like your brothers, and they were all really good friends. And then to find out that their bandmate was doing something like that, they wanted to keep the band going, so they tried to do it as a 4-piece. And they did this 4-piece thing for a while, and I'll be 100% honest, the songs were just not as good. You could tell that he was missing, the good lyrics were missing, and as a fan of this band, I was like, it's kind of a bummer. Like, I love them, but like when they put out a new album, I'll listen to it, and I'm kind of like, that wasn't that good. So I was kind of bummed. I still give New Found Glory a spin every now and again. I listen to their old stuff still all the time, but when they put out something new, I would kind of just like, I'm going to listen, I'm going to give it a shot, but I probably won't be coming back to it for a while. And this new album came out, same thing. I go into it thinking, all right, I'll give it a shot. Let me see what it sounds like, because they released a couple singles and they were good. And the whole album is really good. It reminds me of like New Found Glory kind of got their groove back. And I love that for them. I'm a huge fan of them. I hope they tour with this new album very soon and come to Cleveland, because I haven't seen them in quite some time. But check it out if you're a fan of pop punk music. If you know New Found Glory, obviously they were big in the early 2000s around Blink time and stuff like that, and they're still going strong. And they still tour, even though the other guitarist has a rare spinal cancer that keeps kind of knocking him out of commission, and he has to have surgeries, and he doesn't really have the strength to perform like he used to. So he'll tour with them occasionally, and he'll just sit there. He can't jump around on stage. He has to sit in a chair. But they do have guys that fill in, because unfortunately he can't always be with them. So that happens with age and with everything. It's an unfortunate part of real life, and they're still powering through. So shout out to New Found Glory. Give them a shot. Pop punk is not dead. Listen Up is the new album, so check that out. And that is Just the Tip. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to go. Again, we had to call a little bit of an audible here because Kyle was going to come on, and we had some stuff planned that we would all do together, and I don't want to do it without Kyle. So we'll do it again in 2 weeks, right before the baseball season starts. George, that gives you 2 weeks to get your picks in as well, because I want to hear your thoughts on all of those MLB predictions. So we'll talk about all of that and more in 2 weeks. I'm sure there will be so much more news to talk about. It is my birthday on Sunday. I'm going to be telling you guys all about my shenanigans that I get into. And we'll do it all again in 2 weeks here. I want to give a shout out to George for always being a trooper with us. George is actually going to be moving to night shift next week, which is going to be different for him. He'll technically for a couple of weeks, he'll technically still be in a good time to help with our show. So we'll be able to get that done. But, everyone give him a nice shout out, because that sucks. Going on night shift is not going to be easy. I'm sure on him and his family. It's a whole different ballgame when you're working nights. Trust me, I did some late shifts back in the day. My company used to kind of do a 2-shift thing when we needed the extra work, and you get used to it. At first, it's really cool. And then once you start doing it, you realize like, okay, my whole schedule's off. Like my whole life feels off. I'm not seeing people anymore because I'm only available in the evening. Like you sleep during the day. It's a lot to learn, but I trust George to get through it. George has a great family that's going to support him, and they're going to be fine. But thoughts and best wishes to George for these next few weeks doing the night shift thing. Hopefully it all goes swimmingly, my friend. Of course. And with that said, we will talk to you guys in 2 weeks. And again, we'll have plenty to talk about. So we'll do that in 2 weeks. I look forward to hearing from all of you and talking about balls. That's what we do. So without further ado, thank everybody for watching and listening to this week's episode. And Cleveland, that was for you. Bye, everybody.